at the end of the day, I wanted to build a place. Man, I'm from Zebulon, North Carolina. When we were growing up, when you went out to eat, guys wore their company shirt with pride because even though we're a blue collar town, there's a dignity that comes with working and being able to provide.
It's time for another episode of Rainmaker for Contractors. Interviews and success stories with million-dollar-plus basement waterproofing and foundation repair owners. Discover how they market and grow their companies in today's economy. Hear directly from the most successful leaders in your industry. With your host and Rainmaker for Contractors owner, Bill Crawford.
Hey, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining the Rainmaker for Contractor podcast. Today is a special day because we have a rock star joining us on the podcast, Von Bullock Jr. Thanks for joining us. How you doing today?
What's up? How you doing, man? Thanks for having me in.
Absolutely. I am excited about this little talk we're going to have and probably some amazing information that you're going to share today. And I know people will
No,
benefit.
you already got me nervous calling me a rock star. It's probably more rock than a star.
Well, I know you grew up in the business and you've been involved in it your whole life, and you're a sharp guy. You come highly recommended by another buddy, Will Blake, who I know you're great friends with. You could start by telling us where you're at and a little bit about your company.
Cool. Well, our company, Regional Foundation and Crawl Space Repair, we're based in North Carolina, just outside of Raleigh, but we serve the Triangle, and Eastern North Carolina, so Central and Eastern North Carolina. We are 40 year in business this year, earlier,
Wow.
and we are, I guess you could say, if you had to hang your hat on something, kind of the originals in the crawl space game, where we've been encapsulating since late mid-90s. And
Amazing.
so seen a lot of changes, man. A lot of changes.
I bet with encapsulation, there's so many, gosh, over the last, 25 years, different strategies on the right way to do capsulation and crawl spaces.
You understand when we got started, we got sent down some material and the supplier was like, I think there's something here, like the advanced energy study had just been published and, all right, cool. And we've been experimenting with this stuff with 6 mil plastic. So we got us a 20 mil liner and all that. And it was like a 1,600 square foot house. And we were sealing the top of the liner with black coffee. It looked like somebody had put a bedspread over a tar pit by the time. And
Wow.
it took us weeks.
Oh my gosh.
There was so much adhesive in that house. I'm sure that house was flammable by the time we were done.
It's
But
hilarious.
it wasn't like there wasn't a man, it won't like you could call somebody. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
we were tech support and R&D all at the same time.
Oh my gosh.
So it was an interesting time, but it was also when we were presenting what we were doing, we didn't think you needed dehumidification. You'd have thought our business model involved drowning kids for profit. Oh, you can't do that. You're going to destroy the house. It has to breathe. Like, man, so it went from there to all the naysayers are now like your biggest competitor. You're just like, no. You got to keep the same energy. What happened? What happened? But it's been pretty cool to see.
Hey, in your area, what percentage are crawl space and what percentage are basements?
The area we serve, Central to Eastern North Carolina, we're going to be 90% crawl.
Really?
You go a little west of Central North Carolina, start heading into the mountains, and you start getting into more 50-50,
Okay.
70-30 basement crawl space type thing. So it starts to transition as you go up in elevation. But I mean, even the Charlotte market itself, I mean, North Carolina is a crawl space heavy. The
Yeah.
Carolinas, we're a crawl space market, and it's not even close.
We're helping waterproofers throughout the United States, and they always slip in. Oh, if you can get us more crawl space jobs, that'd be awesome because those things are so profitable. We can get in and out, and those are great. And You know, it's a little different there. It's like all you get is crawl spaces in that area.
Yeah, and is involved in a crawl space. So when you go up north, or we visited other guys in the industry up north, and yeah, we got crawl space, and the crawl spaces are really like additions. People didn't want to spend the money to excavate down for a basement. So you'll have a basement, and then it'll be a 500 square foot addition that's a crawl space. Then they come here, and it'll be some old ranch home, be 3,900 square feet, 4,000 square feet, 16 inches, full of water with ducts.
Wow, what a mess.
And so we've even had some of our foundation suppliers, they would send like their field trainers out doing dealer visits. And we've seen guys just absolutely have claustrophobic episodes. We're
Really?
like, I know. He's
Why
outside, you know,
he's
but
throwing up a
crawl
bunch of
spaces in the Midwest are 3, 4 feet.
right.
So when he came in and saw 18 inches full of water, and he was just like, oh, we're just gonna talk about this, right? And of course, I'm a bigger guy, and so when you see me disappear underneath, it's like, come on in, the water fire. And
Wow.
then
That's
that's when
different.
respect for Southern contractors started to kick in a little bit.
Absolutely. That is a different world. That's different. Hey, I'm on your website and I'm just noticing like a ton of services. 40 years in the business, you know, probably picked up so many different services. Ballparkish, like how many crews are you running? Like you got to be a pretty big company and you have to know a lot different stuff to do all these services.
Yeah, we've actually scaled down, been a little slower than we anticipated with some other
Yeah.
market changes we had to make, but I'm sure everyone's adjusting.
Yeah. Like,
Right now, we're 7 acres.
and that's
But,
huge. I mean,
um,
mold remediation, wood repair, structural repair, concrete leveling, concrete resurfacing, you know, and all the other, 30 different things for basement waterproofing, even have drywall repair, gutter downspout, energy efficiency.
yeah, the big items is really going to fall into just 3 items: basement crawl space repair, which is going to be your waterproofing, encapsulation, wood rot, mold protection, groundwater treatment, things like that. Foundation repair, where we're stabilizing walls, floors, and foundations. And then the third is our concrete services that we're actually spinning out into a separate, over the next year, it's going to spin out to its own company where we do concrete leveling and resurfacing. So it's really 3 items: basement crawl space repair, foundation, and concrete services. Foundation repair, waterproofing, as we had to rebuild some of our websites due to some poor marketing practices in the past. That's coming back on, but I will say, the concrete's really firing hard for us right now. We look forward to seeing that growth.
Love it. Very clever, very strategic. I mean, when you waterproof a home or crawl space basement, like how many need concrete repair, like sidewalks lifted? Like,
Yeah, you see that a lot. And then we just looked at and just measured the search volume for concrete services. So my dad started a company in '84, and we were a waterproofing subcontractor for home builders.
okay,
Over time, we get enough referrals, we started doing dewatering, interior drainage, and crawl space. There are some basements, there's not many, but there are some. And so when those would leak, you would get the call because in the '80s and early '90s, I mean, if you had a nice ad in the Yellow Page book, the nicer the ad, the more legit you were.
right.
And uh, the homeowner side started to kick in. But until 2008, we were always a home builder subcontractor who had a repair side to it. But we were always very heavy on the waterproofing end. Bought the company in March 13th, 2020.
You remember that date. That's an important date.
And the world shut down. That was D-Day for COVID. We
Oh,
are
yeah.
closing buying a company
That long ago?
for way over value because I got a family discount. And you look around for the sucker in the room, found me. Maybe I'm just kidding.
That's
And
funny.
He was like, "Look, now
You've
raise the."
done well for yourself. You can't argue with that.
But yeah, it was our attorney made it close. We had to do a virtual closing. It was my first virtual closing because he had a staff member that came in that knowingly had COVID.
Oh my goodness.
And you had to do contact tracing then. You had to call the CDC and then you had to
I remember that.
place. Like it was a
That was
wide
crazy. Yeah.
time. And while we're closing, your phones are going off with all these closings. The NBA had shut down in the middle of the game the day before. And, and you're about to sign your life away for a couple $1 million that it could have been it could have been a couple billion. It was all the same to me at that point, What okay. And but you just move forward with whatever you think is a good plan, generally speaking, and you go to work.
Hey,
So
did you see Steph Curry close out the Olympics, the gold medal?
of course I did. That's a North Carolina boy.
That was
I
just a
did.
beautiful thing. That was one of the best finishes of a game I've ever seen in my
I
life.
was
That
I
was
in
amazing.
the room by myself and was like, man, that might have been the greatest 2 minutes I think I've ever.
I think so too. Even D Wade was like, do you realize this is the best basketball in the world ever?" That was a good line. That was really fitting.
That was really when you can shoot over 2 guys and not pass to LeBron,
Oh,
and he were wide open and no one had a problem with it, you a bad boy. You a bad boy. Had
and
I
he was falling backward.
they done threw a lasso around me in the middle of my shooting motion to get that ball out of line. Steph Curry is like, we will live or die with it because the man is the best shooter that's
Ever.
ever. Yeah,
That was that was he's not getting enough press for what happened.
with even with all of that, we went to work growing the company, and the biggest thing that we were able to grow was the foundation repair.
Okay.
That's a huge need. So what we found, probably one of the biggest painful lessons I've had to learn is to not trust so much intuition.
Hmm.
Start with data to make decisions versus just gut feeling. Um,
Got an example of that?
yeah. Jeez, how many that
Hmm.
one for so I'll put it like this: as we were looking at how do we want to in this environment where obviously people's discretionary income is not what it was a few years ago.
Hmm.
How do we continue to grow the company? Right, like we got a BHAG we're shooting for, and we're on a 20-mile march, and the show goes on. Right, I don't want to. We're not gonna celebrate growing a company when you got 500-mile-an-hour tailwinds. But then the moment you get 2-mile-an-hour headwinds, now it's somebody's fault. And so what do we do? And by looking and finding a SEO partner who's helped us a lot, what is the search bar? What are people looking for?
Hmm.
And we found that it's not even close. Foundation and concrete searches dwarf the waterproofing market probably by 10 times. And so if we're going to deploy capital, if we're going to focus on increasing resources, bandwidth, capacity, and branding, then we need to go where people are asking for help. Then you look around and you see, okay, who are the players that I'm dealing with? Well, in one market, the players aren't even clearly defined. It's so all over the place.
Hmm.
And in another market, there are some well-defined players, some national players, some franchises, and all of this stuff. No one's really happy. My background, obviously, I told you from a construction standpoint, but we also had a second company where we poured concrete basements. Like of all 30 poured concrete basements in North Carolina, we probably poured 15 of them. But
Wow.
I'm joking, it's more than 30. So understanding what goes into the construction up front, seeing the issues over time, there was a comfort level with a more technical service, which is what foundation repair turns into. It's a much more technical service than pumps and pipes, if you will.
Hmm.
And so we went after that, and just foundation repair alone, we're doing, I would say year to date, based on our numbers, our year to date for foundation repair alone is still 120% higher than the volume we done in 2019 total.
Wow.
And so being intentional with how you want to grow, I've always had strong intuition on very certain things, but those things have been wrong. in the past, and then concrete. And what we were seeing by asking questions, looking at data, internal data, as well as external data that was available, and then just what's really going on. So we have an issue that we want to address. In the summertime, we get a lot of concrete calls when people are outside.
Mhm.
When we're only doing concrete leveling, our average sale is right at 3 grand. So our revenue drops, even though our sold jobs total increases,
Mhm.
as well as not everyone can do concrete level. So we have a silo of in our business that is pigeonholed a little bit from a skill set, and it's not. We are currently not built enough out there to where that revenue alone can sustain the company and float it. Like if all we did was this, we can't put enough in the ground. So we're still fighting and getting the waterproofing and foundation that we can, but it's more of a struggle in the summertime here.
Mm.
Once the weather comes back, we're in hurricane season, kids go back to school, business comes back around. But how do we solve a lull in what we see revenue that is historical? And what we found is looking at that information, there's other options people are asking for that have a larger ticket that make a bigger impact so that these same leads that we were generating about $2,000 every time we took a concrete call
Mhm.
is now going up. Our average size sale is now going from 3 grand to 11 grand by introducing other services with the same customers because the demand is there. It's just the problem is we're not doing a good enough job educating the customer. They know they have a concrete issue. Doesn't need to be replaced. Doesn't need to be resurfaced. Doesn't need to be lifted. I don't know, but everyone you call, if you're a concrete guy, oh well, I don't do overlays. You need to call somebody else. I don't do coatings. I just pour the concrete. Concrete lifter guy. Well, we don't do concrete. We just lift what you got.
You're
There's
such a numbers guy, man,
there's
which I
all
love. I'm taking a couple notes. Here's what I got from you. Use data, not intuition. It sounds like you had, "Hey, I got this intuition thing, like I'm a sharp guy. I can call it," but you're like, "Data's gonna overrule me." I got be adaptive, right? I got provide services of what people want, but then the last one, like, educate the customer, right? You didn't use, sell them this, sell them that, like, you gotta educate them. But then, like, actually, I'm gonna add one. If you go to your website, it totally mirrors everything that you're saying. So you wanna be able to do all these things for people and not say, "Go to that guy. We only do this. Go to this guy." So you're like you could take care of people. We're gonna do it all for you.
they're already calling.
Yeah,
How many of our sales guys go out and they have a cake quote, don't do work?
right.
Look, it's not what we do. Well, why not? Is now we also have to make sure we're not divvying ourselves up too much. But once we saw what's going on with this concrete thing, I mean, we introduced our resurfacing 90 days ago. And just 90 days, just the resurfacing alone in the last 90 days, we've done 35% of what we done for concrete services all of last year.
Wow.
And so it's like, and we don't have to increase, we just our costs to bring them in. They were already coming there.
Totally. The cost of a new acquisition is high, and they're already knocking on your door, right?
Already, and there's no one else. Everyone else is so fragmented.
We've had several listeners express interest in being guests on our podcast, and we think that's fantastic. If your company generates over $1 million in revenue and you believe you have valuable insights to share, we'd love to hear from you. Additionally, if you are a supplier to the industry and want to explore partnership opportunities with Rainmaker, we're open to discussing collaborations. Finally, if you're a basement waterproofing or foundation repair contractor looking to boost your online marketing efforts and generate more leads, reach out to us. We're here to help you grow.
So let me ask you something though, because I think you have another skill set that like you're not talking about. And I think what gets super intimidating to other contractors to go where you're talking about now is I can't train or manage the quality of work with all these different services. I don't want my guys doing drywall or doing wood repair stuff. So how on earth do you have to be really good at training your people for these or finding people. How are you doing that?
You know, let me think about that. Couple things, and this is also a pain point that's cost me a lot of money the last 4 years to learn. People don't leave companies, they leave their manager.
Wait, they don't leave companies, they what?
They don't quit a company, they quit the manager.
Okay,
What your manager is, that's the one that really quit.
I agree with that.
But to be honest with you, I think it also goes the opposite direction. The type of managers you have and the type of culture that everybody understands you're willing to die on this hill over
Mm,
is also what will attract certain people to those managers.
mhm,
When I did not have the right leadership or the right direct managers, it was ultimately because I wasn't clear or I wasn't operating with full integrity. Here's what I mean. Like you want to do the right thing, but because the North Carolina market is so competitive and I knew we needed to grow. I knew it was only going to get more competitive. I knew there was more consolidation. I knew there was more private equity companies coming. Like I knew all this stuff. And it was like, we got to get going. Like anybody that's doing $1 million in revenue in a year here or under 2 million is going to struggle. And if you're under 5, it's going to be tough, tough sledding. We got to go and we got to get there 2 weeks ago.
mm.
Problem with that is there were so many opportunities to build a culture in a healthy way to say, this is what we do. Here's who we are. And to make sure everyone's playing along with it. The turnover was just ridiculous.
Mhm.
The turnover is ridiculous. And when you got that type of turnover, it's ultimately the customer that gets you.
That's right.
And even though that was happening, that was never my intention. It was a byproduct of piss poor leadership on my part. So I had to pick a struggle. Either we grow at light speed and you just leave a trail of dead bodies in the way on the way, or you swallow your little ego, have a little faith, go back, get your people off the field. We don't leave a man behind. Then let's figure this out. And what happened for us is in order to figure it out, we needed to slow down.
You needed what?
Slow down.
Slow down. Yeah, you're going
We,
too fast.
we were when April of 2020, our revenue was like 154,000. By August of 22, we did 1,150,000.
Wow.
115,000, sorry,
In 1 month.
in revenue. We had got our monthly revenue to that. Like that's how fast we were
Amazing. Yeah,
scaling. But we outgrew my leadership.
yeah.
I was not a leader. I didn't have the skills or the character or the ability to train, or what I won't say character, but maybe not the ability to train well enough to lead a 15, $20 million company profitably with a good reputation that provided a great experience for those working here. At the end of the day, I wanted to build a place. Man, I'm from Zebulon, North Carolina. Growing up, when you went out to eat, guys wore their company shirt with pride because even though we're a blue collar town, there's a dignity that comes with working and being able to provide.
Mm.
Just because you get dirty to do it, you got respect. That's just the area we're from. Unfortunately, to get career type jobs, you either had to go work with the government, the town, the state, or something like that, a utility company, or some huge construction firm that gave you opportunity, or a manufacturing facility. But the line to get those type of career blue collar jobs wrapped around the building. Why can't it be here? That was always my dream. My dream was never about the size of a revenue. It was always for folks to go one day, they walk into their little local town, Peaceville. That was the spot we had in Zebulon back then, Peaceville. And the guy sees a regional shirt on. And they're like, hey man, how do I get on there? Like, I hear that's a good job. Like, that's a career job. That was my goal. And
Nice.
I was thinking I had to be something here in order to survive. I missed my goal this year.
Mm.
So we're actually growing the more we're trying to slow down. And Now you're seeing where now the turnover is slowing.
Mhm.
Now there's more buy-in from a culture standpoint. And now the team itself is able to start solving problems autonomously.
Beautiful.
Now they're having to go all the way up to the top. And I'm starting to see more pushback if I say something, which is what I want.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna right 100% of the time if there's no one else who'll say different. And I know I'm not right 100% of the time, but that's a corner four level of trust that your team has to have with you and you have to have with them. You can't do that if you're quadrupling. We were doubling the size of the company year after year. And so,
I
yeah,
love
man.
your story. I love it. There's a lot of humility and come to Jesus in that stuff, and
It's a
but
pain. Oh, you say, what do leaders need? Pain tolerance.
yeah,
Pain
yeah, a lot of pain in there.
tolerance, frequent doctor visits. If
There
I
was
go
a moment where
to
you said, "My name is Von Bullock, and I'm a bad leader." Right?
I got lost in the sauce.
Yeah, I've been a bad leader for 3 years now or something. And that's beautiful, man, and that's great. Like, you've really like, so many owners need to hear this. I think the smaller companies, I think it's partly ego, I think it's partly organization. They're just running around putting fires out and
And fear.
what's that? Fear? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of
Like,
it, you may want to disguise it sometimes as you go. I know for me it was. I may not know how I want you to do something. I just know the end result, but I don't know how to get you there. And I don't want to let you down or be able to say, hey, I hired you to do something. I don't know how to do it. I just need it done. And feeling like somebody's being thrown under the bus because I don't want to be thrown under the bus. But you're like, I don't know.
yeah.
And I feel like I'm supposed to be the guy that has all the answers. And I don't have all the answers. I just know where we need to go. I don't know how. That's
You're the vision caster, and you have people around you kinda filling in the gaps and helping you get where you
what you
wanna
gotta
go.
trust. What you gotta trust.
Yeah.
And
You got
so
s sounds like you got some good leaders in the in the middle there that fills in the gaps between you and the work that's being done. It's great, and so you have to maybe step aside sometimes, right? I mean, I love that you actually we share this in common. I want employees to push back because 'cause we're gonna have better decisions that way. I don't wanna be the dictator. I want, ownership and involvement, so it's how you get the best results. That's cool. I love that story. That's big picture stuff, but sounds like a lot of communication stuff. You use the phrase that "no man left behind." So, and, before that, you had turnover stuff, so it sounds like you entered the tunnel of chaos with people and said, like, "Hey, let's figure this out, like, what's going on? Like, why are you upset? How do we get on the same page? How do we work this out?" And then you're getting feedback and you're learning. That's great. These are huge lessons, huge leadership lessons. Man, that was like you just dropped the mic. I don't know where to go now.
oh, wherever you want to go, it's your show. I'm with you. I'm not lost. I'm with you.
Oh, good. No, that's cool. I'm taking it in. Let me ask you this. How do you recruit people? You have a big company, no doubt. You have like an Amazon warehouse that's offering $25 an hour down the street.
Well, one, we do pay very well. One of the, I guess one of the moments that I appreciated, I don't know. I don't know. Folks who work for me may not have really appreciated it, but for everything that we've gone through last year, we increased our profitability by 9%.
That's ginormous.
And but here's the thing. So in the fall of the year, the day before Thanksgiving, we always do a culture day. We take everyone out and we have our company come together. We have a speaker and we do everything
Cool.
this year, next year. And then we go play around. One year we rented out Dave and Buster's. That was fun.
I bet. Those were fun places.
Yeah, that was fun. Last year we rented a Drive Shack. And so that was great because everybody sucked at golf and made me look like a superstar.
Sure. That's funny.
That was great. But one of the stats we were able to show our employees is while our profitability grew, our average employee salary grew 15%.
Wow.
And so
That's
when
great.
companies are trying to increase profitability, what's one of the first things they want to do? When they say we need to cut costs, they want to impact their employees' pocket. And, you know, we've been able to figure out other ways of operating and incentivizing folks that we do well, they do well. And so if they're pissed off about how their compensation is going, we already been pissed off. If they're excited, we're excited. Like we're all rowing the boat now in the same direction. And man, there's very few things I get. I'd rather see someone that came in, had a car that we had to put together every day because it was so rad. And now we have like I think it was one of our foremen, you know, just kind of bounced around, didn't really have reliable transportation, married, was getting married, had this vision of being able to be a provider and protector. Let me tell you, this guy came in, he kicked someone's butt, came in as an installer, worked his way up, became a foreman, and he's just like on any commercial job, he's the guy.
Nice.
I popped up on the job. He's teaching his guys. They do more work faster than anybody else cream with virtually zero callbacks. And every time I just pop up on a job, just a surprise visit, I don't even see him working. I see him teaching.
Oh, I love that.
And you're just now you see his car and change. And now he's asking advice about a mortgage and mortgage rates and all this stuff. And it's just like now we're really doing some work, man. Pumps and pipes kind free. That's what we do for a trade. But the business is this.
People
Right.
development first. That's everything else is a sideshow.
Oh, as long as I can make a few dollars off of it.
That's right. That's right. Hey,
let's-
are you using Will Blake's software for payment stuff?
Will, no, because Will gonna look at on the back end of your stuff and do funny stuff to mess with you. No, trust Will. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. Got you, Will. We actually his performance pay app. We're actually going through the enrollment process with that. We have been critics of it for a while, and he just kept fixing stuff. And then eventually, when he showed this last one, I was just like, "Daggone it!" I hate to say it, Will.
You took away all your excuses.
This is exactly what we need.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Good to hear
We're
it.
going through it right now, man. So it should free up a lot of bandwidth. We're excited about it.
You're sharing this great stuff. I really appreciate your hearing your story and your experiences. And, we could probably talk for a long time. This actually is going to be the longest podcast we've had. And it was,
Cool.
yeah, usually 20 minutes or so.
Oh, I
But
didn't.
really good stuff. Yeah. I mean, the whole culture that you've created, I bet you have a highly committed staff that would, fight for you and do whatever you need because you take care of them. So that's cool.
Responsibility when you see that, though. Like,
Yeah.
how do you see that and you not feel personally indebted to make sure they have more room to grow?
Mhm.
I don't know. My job really is just trying to live up to the expectations and the standard that I see people. When you see them go to war, they show
Mm.
up. They got the kinesiology tape on their shoulder from injuries in the past and working. And they show up and they get back after it and they go fight. Like, hold on. How do you not in your mind go, I gotta figure this out. How do we keep this thing going where they can grow more? I just don't know how I don't know how you can be content with content when you got folks who are asking for more, who are giving it all they got. They giving it all they got. I got to. I got to. I can't
Yeah.
sit there, look at you. I got to.
Mm.
I'm not tall yet, but I got to do something.
You're a great leader. I could tell. Hey, last question for you. If someone's thinking about business ownership and maybe getting into the crawl space, basement waterproofing repair, kind of, what advice would you give them?
If you want to get specifically in the foundation game, waterproofing, like I love basement waterproofing and all that as a type of foundation.
Yeah.
If you want to get in the foundation game, two things. One, it is not that simple. If you don't believe me, ask any of the private equity COOs that they hire to come in and run foundation repair companies who have come from other home services and are currently getting their rear end handed to them. It does not follow the same revenue model. It is a different game. However, if you focus on doing the right thing for your people, doing the right thing for your customer, and learning to get it down, you'll be fine. You'll be fine.
Well said. Love it. Vaughn, thanks so much for being on this podcast and sharing your wisdom, your experiences, your stories. Beautiful story. Love talking to you.
Appreciate you, Brother Bill.
All right, man. Talk to you soon.
Later.
You've been listening to the Rainmaker for Contractors podcast, where basement waterproofing and foundation repair business owners and industry experts share marketing and sales information that helps you reach more customers. Please leave us a review on iTunes or your favorite podcast platform, and get all of our show notes at rainmakerforcontractors.com/podcast.